Elon Musk. I saw 2 articles this week. One was in the New York Times, and it was like, people are saying Elon Musk is a conservative, but it's not that simple. The Atlantic was like, Elon Musk is a far-right activist. And I read both those articles, and I thought to myself, who gives a fuck? And the reason I say who gives a fuck, because we're not discussing the issue. The issue is social media out of control? Should social media be regulated?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is social media doing more harm than good right now? We're not even having that discussion. What does it matter what Elon Musk's politics are? What does it matter what Mark Zuckerberg's politics are? Does it matter?
I think it matters if those politics are influencing the platforms. Because you want the platforms to remain ideally politically neutral. And what was exposed from Twitter before is that there are far more Twitter employees that were left-leaning, and therefore they were willing to make accommodations for certain political groups that were left-leaning. They also did it for right-leaning. There were just far less employees there that could make those things happen.
You're right. So with that said, what do? FCC rules and regulations, because FCC rules and regulations are supposed to keep people from being partisan.
Maybe it's possible that Elon Musk is learning that moderation and regulation is kind of necessary on a platform like this.
Yes.
Like he kind of went into it going, we're just going to let free speech rock. And then all of a sudden they started posting like where he was and like where his family was.
Yes.
And then he was like, all right, well, maybe we need to regulate some things. Maybe we need to moderate some things. So maybe Twitter was a little bit too left-leaning or a little bit too integrated in government. It'd be nice if it was a little bit more neutral and it wasn't, hiding certain stories, et cetera, like it did obviously with the Hunter Biden situation. That being said, I think we all agree that a certain amount of moderation is important. If you even look into freedom of speech, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Why can you not? Because you could actually hurt people's lives. So there has always been limitations on free speech, especially if it's going to protect human life.
Schulz, the biggest broadcast platform in the world right now is the internet.
Yeah.
It's social media. It's YouTube. It's bigger than television. It's bigger than radio. It's bigger than podcasts. You have to regulate it. It should have the same FCC rules and regulations that all those other platforms have. It's too big and it has too much influence for it not to be. Simple as that. So it's like,
but what should the regulation, like for me, I'm a big freedom of speech guy, especially as it affects, comedy, right? And like satire, this is what I love. So I want people to be able to make jokes. I want people to be able to say things. I think the problem is when you become the arbiter of truth. That's a sticky situation. When you take something down for being fake news, but the truth or what is real is defined by your political party's opinion, now we get in a shaky situation.
Well, I think when it comes to that, especially when it comes to the news, man, just vet it. We're trying to get away from opinion-based news on these traditional platforms.
Here's a perfect example that Duval brought up, right? Instagram was banning certain accounts and like shadow banning people and punishing people for saying certain things that were viewed as bullying because they were unaware of the culture they were coming from.
Yeah.
Right? So when somebody goes, you stupid, or this dude dumb, oftentimes it means he's hilarious. But Instagram was looking at that and just seeing those words and going, oh, you're bullying, this is a bad account, we need to ban this person, or blah, blah, blah. So clearly they're unaware with Black influence in culture, sayings, vernacular.
Absolutely.
If they don't fix that, they essentially make using Black slang illegal on the internet.
Absolutely.
That's not fair to Black people that want to use Black slang or white people that want to use Black slang.
I agree wholeheartely. So my thing is
making a cultural illegal.
Instead of having cultural police, let's use the system that's already in place.
Which is?
The FCC. We have a system already in place that has worked for TV and radio these years.
But it's also dumbed down, not dumbed down, but it's also made TV so neutered.
No, that's us. That's those cultural police you're talking about. That's those people who work at Instagram who are looking at Black content and like, no, that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. That's this woke culture. That's not the FCC. Because think about it. The FCC didn't change. Society changed. Think about what we used to watch in the 90s on television, bro. Think about what you used to watch on TV in the early 2000s. That never changed. It's the way people's sensibilities in culture and society has changed. Not the FCC.
I'd have to look at it.
Howard Stern was fine until motherfuckers started getting a little too sensitive. And he said, you know what? I'm going over here. And,
I mean, he was getting canceled left and right.
And he was getting too many fines.
Yeah.
But he was using...
From the FCC.
He was using the words that he shouldn't have been using.
Well, he was playing around it. He was trying to find a way to say the words that he couldn't say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, listen, I'd have to look and see what the regulations are from the FCC, because I think one of the reasons why the internet absolutely exploded is because you could put like real, pure, authentic content out there that wasn't kind of shackled and neutered by these rules. Now, it might not only be rules from the FCC, but also from advertisers. They are maybe terrified. They're like, I don't want to advertise on this if you're saying a curse word. I don't want to advertise on this if there's too much nudity. I don't want to advertise this if it's too salacious. And then all of a sudden, the internet has all the salaciousness. It has all the curse words. It has all the authenticity. And then all the eyeballs are going to gravitate towards authenticity.
I agree with that, but I think that's the second step to why the internet exploded. The first step why the internet exploded is just because the point of entry is nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Convenience.
Like anybody can get on the internet. Anybody can open a YouTube page, social media page. Anybody can start a podcast. You can't just get on television. Well, back in the day, you couldn't just get on television. You couldn't just get on radio. You know what I mean? So it's just the point of entry was nothing.
Yeah.
There's no cover fee.
Yeah.
So it gave everybody a voice.
So then who decides what is okay and what's not okay to say? Who decides what's the truth and what is not the truth? Like, it's really tricky, man.
The truth thing is tricky because even news networks play with that, right? Like everybody that's why they're trying to get away from opinion-based news, right? Because the Foxes, the CNN, the MSNBCs, they just lean to the party. Yeah. You know, Fox leans right, MSNBC leans left, CNN leans left. CNN's trying to be more center now, you know, because they have Republicans on as well as Democrats, but you just got to see where that's going to go. So it's like the truth is tricky, but everything else you can regulate. What I mean when I say regulate is you can't just post any story online. Bro. People wonder why certain stories don't reach the mainstream because they can't do that. They're held liable. They'll get sued. You can't just report something that's false just because it's the hot topic on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to vet things. I think it should be the same way on social media. And we had this conversation earlier this year. We'll be saving so many broadcasters, bro. Because you see these broadcasters getting hit with these lawsuits that they're not even ready for. Because in their mind, they're watching other YouTubers do what they're doing. And so they're like, well, it must be okay because everybody's doing it. That's true until somebody jumps on your ass and shows you that this is defamation. Or shows you why you can't broadcast misinformation like a Alex Jones getting hit for $1 billion.
Yeah.
You can't just get online and, spread lies about people. Well, you shouldn't be. You can, but you shouldn't be able to is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's where the FCC will come into play.
What is the difference between freedom of speech and a defamation lawsuit? Why are you not allowed to defame someone?
Because if it's not true, if it's a lie, then a person can sue you for defamation. And if that defamation causes harm to that person, you know what I mean? Whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally. You see people sue for emotional distress, all types of stuff.
Right. No, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to. I'm just understanding, like, how did people even in the past handle that limitation on free speech?
I think it's the difference between having an opinion and just straight up lying on somebody. You know what I mean? Like you can have an opinion and clown somebody, clothes, or, what they look like or what you may think about them. But, if you be like, and this has happened, you've seen it. Oh, that person's gay. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm suing you for defamation now. You know what I mean? Or that person's a thief. That person stole from such and such. It's like, you can't say that if it's not true. Right. What's your factual proof? What's your evidence? You know what I mean?
You could say allegedly.
If OJ wanted to, OJ can sue you for calling him a murderer. If you get on a podcast and something and you say, OJ Simpson is a murderer. He committed a murder. He can sue.
Wow.
Because he didn't get charged for murder.
Yeah, that's true.
That's defamation.
Yeah,
that's what FCC rules and regulations come into play. And it's not going to make people think it's going to make the internet less fun. No, it's not. Not at all. You know what I mean?
I mean, legislation always makes things less fun.
I don't think so.
I think there's a scale, and it's, safety and fun.
You perform in front of large crowds all the time, Schulz.
Yeah.
You ain't never had nobody shut you down for inciting a riot. You ain't never had nobody shut you down for inciting violence. You ain't never called fire. You never yelled fire in the crowd. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I've had venues not allow me to perform there because of my material.
That's on them, though. That's not because of the FCC. That's why I keep going back to the.
But what if the FCC does that to a human being? What if the FCC comes to this podcast and they go, hey, you're making these jokes that are insulting to certain groups. We're going to have to shut you down. You can't have a platform anymore. We don't allow this on the internet.
I think the FCC only does that when it's allowed, when it's hate speech.
But what's defined as hate speech? Like a joke to us might be interpreted as hate speech to a group. That's why freedom of speech is so important, is because you can never know what somebody is offended by.
I'm with you. But once again, we always have this conversation about free speech. You're not free from the consequences of that speech.
Yeah, I didn't say you're free from the consequences.
That's the other thing about the internet. And I think that's why we get upset. We was having this conversation last night on Hell of a Week. And I'm like, because we had Alice Stewart on from CNN. And, she was saying how she hates how these people can hide behind these cat profiles and say whatever they want. And I was like, well, they hide behind the cat profile because they pussy. But the thing is, that's what I think we get upset about.
Yeah.
Because, Schulz, you say something that pisses somebody off or insults somebody, they can hold you accountable. But these motherfuckers get online and say anything and hide behind these cat profiles.
Yeah.
Who do we hold accountable?
Yeah.
So, as Chico said last night, if you want to talk your shit, you got to put a name with that shit, bro.
Yeah.
An address or something.
Yeah.
Stand on that shit. That's why I don't respect a lot of those people in those spaces. I respect people who put a face with that shit and who got something to lose and still stand on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when the respect comes from me. It's easy to, of course you can sit in your basement all day and say whatever about whoever behind a profile. That's not gangster. Why are we respecting that? I don't respect that.
I kind of like that idea that Elon wanted to make sure everybody was verified, not necessarily blue check, but like every account that's on Twitter is attached to a real person.
We need to know who you are.
We need to know who you are.
Yeah.
You can have a satire account. You can have an account where you make fun of people. You can do all these things, but we need to know it's attached to a real person and kind of who that person is, because then it becomes different. You and I operate in a very different world in that, like, when we say something about somebody, it's going to get back to them.
Immediately. Boom.
They know.
Boom.
So it's a little bit different than the anonymity that most people experience on the internet, where they can say whatever they want about whoever they want, and they never have to deal with it. You're getting DMs. I'm getting DMs from people that are salty about the things that were said.
That's right.
And we might have to bump into these people.
That's right.
So it's not like we don't deal with the repercussions for the things we say. We have to measure whether we want to say some shit or not every single time. So there are repercussions for what we say, right? But the average person, maybe not. And that kind of freedom, that must feel good, but it also could create a very toxic place on the internet.
Man, you ain't lying, yo. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. There has to be accountability. That's it.
But isn't it weird that, like, we're going to suffer in terms of what we're allowed to say to fix the problem that is the anonymous people on the internet, what they're saying?
I don't think we're going to suffer, Schulz.
Suffer is maybe the wrong word. But we will be inhibited in some way. There will be certain things that we would like to say that will be removed from us to solve a problem that isn't us. It's not caused by us.
I hear what you're saying.
For example, the people that go out drinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say there's some alcoholic comes in, drives drunk, kills somebody. And let's say the state comes in, they go, that's it. Everybody's only allowed 2 drinks, right? And we were like, well, we were only having 3 drinks. This motherfucker's having 10 drinks. Why can't I have 3? Why do all of us have to suffer for one asshole?
But they do have those type of rules, though.
They do?
Yeah, if you're in a bar, like a bartender has to stop serving you after a certain point, because then the bar is held liable. Like if the bar knows that, if they're looking at you and they know that you're drunk and you're saucy, after a while, they got to stop serving you, because if you get in the car.
That's very rarely happens.
Nah, I've heard those cases happen often.
No. Yeah, people get kicked out of bars for being drunk, but at the same time.
But no, I've heard of bars being held liable.
Yeah, kind of. I mean.
I'm just saying you can't live in a world where, like, there's no consequences and repercussions.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying we don't. What I'm saying is that we're not the issue. The issue is those people that are anonymous on the internet. So maybe if you have an anonymous account that's not attached to anybody, you have more strict rules in terms of what you can or can't say.
Yeah.
And once you attach that to an actual person and a real account, then you could have more freedom, because we know it's going back to someone. People are way more willing to say some foul shit if you never know who the fuck they are.
That's right.
So then, limit their asses.
I don't even know if I care about them as much as I care about the people who pretend to be, like, broadcasters, like actual sources of news online. I don't know if I care about, like, the everyday person as much as I care about like the person who pretends to be a news source.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But you could twist and turn everything these days. That's the crazy thing.
That's
It's like,
right.
I don't believe anything that I read.
That's satire shit is dangerous. I can't believe you're okay with that. You can just make an Andrew Schulz account, get a verified check, and start tweeting wild shit, and folks will believe it.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what nobody say. We need regulation. But you know what we just did for the last 15 minutes?
What's that?
We discussed the issue. Yeah. Not the individual.
Yeah.
That's what we discussed. Let's have a conversation about the issue. Yeah. To your point, yes, if somebody's too far right or too far left and they let their politics lean into these platforms, that's wrong. But you would not have that problem if you actually had FCC rules and regulations. You know what I mean? And I don't think nobody ever thought social media and all that shit would get this big. I don't think that we ever thought that we'd be looking to Twitter and everything else as a platform for actual news. I guess we thought that these traditional outlets like the newspapers and the news organizations would always sustain their position. Then we started to realize all these motherfuckers do is reflect what's going on social media.
Oh, yeah. That's why I think it's silly to get into politics. It's like you can affect culture. The politicians are just going to respond to whatever the culture desires.
That's it.
So if you affect culture, you can affect politics. But politicians aren't going to dictate the culture to the people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely,
we dictate the culture, and then they have to react to it. If we want a certain thing, they're all going to flip-flop on their words and then execute on that specific thing that we want.
In my lifetime, I've only seen one president, or one presidential candidate who became president, put his will on the people and made people lean towards what he was talking about, literally culturally, like shift culture. DT? Yeah. I personally never saw it. I never saw somebody shift culture with their words like Donald Trump. I've never seen it. You know what I mean? I don't think Obama shifted culture with his words. I think Obama shifted culture with his identity because, like one of his books was titled The Audacity of Hope. It was a change that people really could believe in. It was like, oh man, this is what I would want America to be. This interracial, this biracial person leading our country. Yeah. This man who's embracing everyone, it seems. Yeah. Like I think that's the idea of that is what people wanted. But as far as like culture, as far as like this is fake news, No,
that motherfucker destroyed information. Like the concept of fake news is quite new. Like I don't remember news being fake before Donald Trump. Now I'm sure it was. Nobody
was calling it out.
Exactly.
He called it out.
And now it's to the point where, and maybe this is good, that like I have a distrust of all information that I'm consuming. And maybe this is good because maybe I was blindly believing some shit just because it said CNN on it. Or I was blindly believing some shit because it said MSNBC. And now I'm realizing, oh, wow, they might have a political agenda as well.
Yes.
So maybe we're getting closer to the actual news, but there is yet to be a news station that has been propped up that's like, hey, this is the truth.
What you just said is so true, but think about that from a social media perspective. Now it's not about what label is on the information. It's just simply about, do you believe this information? Yeah. Like if I already have an opinion about something, all I need is some shit that reinforces
That's it.
So I can go on YouTube and find a video. I can go online and find somebody saying something that reinforces what I say, so I believe it.
And the truth is always way less interesting. It's way less exciting.
What do I say all the time? Nobody cares about the truth and the lies more entertaining.
Yeah, and the lies are always way better. The truth is way more boring and like reasonably understandable when you actually come to it. Yeah. But conspiracy is just so much fun. I would way rather listen to conspiracy. It's just so exciting.